mixed salivary glands. Parotid traditionally is described as a purely serous gland. However, modern research has shown that in fact in the parotid there are some mucus. It's not pure. It was for many years thought to be purely serous, but if you read the newest version of Graves and the research coming out, that in fact the parotid gland is to a very slight degree a mixed salivary gland. Okay? So we get three things. We get a parotid gland that is, for nearly all intents and purposes, purely serous with a minor component of mucus. We get the submandibular gland, and the submandibular gland now is going to be predominantly serous. A mixed salivary gland, predominantly serous. And then we move to the sublingual gland. I'm just going to put that slide on. I'm going to come back to this slide. Oops. Go to the submandibular gland, the sublingual here. And the sublingual gland, as you see, looks rather ghost-like. Okay? Pale, 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 pale. The sublingual gland is, for all in this, predominantly mucus. So 3 salivary glands we should be able to identify in the exam. One, when we look at a gland and it's nearly all serous, you can see gland, that's the parotid gland. Okay? If it is now predominantly serous with a sort of a minor component of mucus, some amount of mucus, that's submandibular, exam-wise. If we go down and look in the exam and we look at a slide looking very much like this, where the bulk of the acini are pale staining, then this is the sublingual gland. Okay? Now, the only factor that's going to confuse that later on we'll see is the pancreas. The pancreas is its exocrine portion is purely serous. Okay? So how are you going to now define the pancreas? Well, the examiner may be kind and just in that field of vision put a bit of the islet of Langerhans. Okay? But he's not always going to do that. So just put it in a box now. The real distinguishing feature between pancreas and parotid gland is the fact that they are what are called centroacinar cells. So in the pancreas, right at the center, in the lumen of the acinus, will be what's referred to as a centroacinar cell. Okay? So this is a beautiful slide of the sublingual gland. Okay? Now let me go back now to the submandibular. Okay? Going back to the submandibular gland here. So this morning I could only just manage to scrape up my slides of the salivary gland. The tongue I was depending on when I reached here, but everybody was a bit too busy. So we see, go back to it and see that the glands are lobulated. And as you know from your first term's work, a salivary gland is just like a bunch of grapes. Alright, the salivary gland, the best analogy to a salivary gland, it looks just like a bunch of grapes, where each grape is an acinus. Alright, each grape basically is an acinus. Okay, and that acinus may be either serous or mucus. Okay, so we're going to look here at an acinus. Okay, so each one of these fellas here is an acinus. Okay, and the cells, roughly about 7 or so cells, more pyramidal in shape, they form what is referred to as the acinus or alveolus in some books, acini plural. Okay, alright. So we're going to get what are referred to as the acini, and these are going to lie on a basement membrane, and they're going to be some very interesting cells that send out processes and surround the acinus. and these are referred to as the basket cells. These are myoepithelial cells that are going to have contractile elements in them to basically squeeze the secretory material into the lumen. So you're looking right here at the lumen of an acinus right here. Now, if we were looking, this could be the pancreas. The pancreas looks exactly like this. But the only difference with the pancreas when we get down to that is that right in the lumen will be a nucleus. And that is the nucleus of a centroacinar cell. And those centroacinar cells basically are formed by your intercalated ducts. Okay? So the acinus is going to lead into, the acinus leads into now what is referred to as a tiny tube, which is known as an intercalated duct. And the intercalated duct is going to lead into what is referred to as a striated duct. Alright? So what you're looking at within right here, that's a striated duct. Okay? So lined by columnar type epithelium, and the base of it, we see now, it shows what are, not the base, but towards the apical end, we see what are striations. Okay? So they're striated. These ducts are striated, and the gland is referred to as a compound tubular alveolar gland. A compound tubular alveolar gland, and tubular because the tube, the striated duct, is very much involved with the final secretory product. So the electrolytes, the sodium, potassium, etc. like that, in physiology they will deal with it. The striated duct plays an important role in the whole composition, electrolyte composition of the saliva. So there's change in it. So there we get now the acinus. Okay. Now what we're looking here, that's another striated duct right here. Give a chance, 1 minute. That's another striated duct. And this is just, this very, very, very tiny little one right here is where this is a merging, this is just a junction between an intercalated duct and a striated duct. The intercalated, yes, Miss.
How do you know if that is a striated duct?
Well, because it's lined by columnar type epithelium. Okay? And let me tell you, the ducts in the salivary glands are of two types. Two types. The ducts that which are occurring within the lobule, those are called intralobular ducts. And the ducts that are outside of the lobule are called interlobular ducts. So two types of ducts we're going to find. Now, Mr. Chris, can you please pay attention? Very good. Very good. Noreen, do not disturb the man. Alright, very good. So, we have in the salivary glands what are referred to as lobules. Okay? And within those lobules, they are ducts. And those ducts are known as what? Intralobular ducts. And the intralobular ducts are of two categories: intercalated and striated. In the parotid gland, we're going to see a lot of striated ducts. The intercalated ducts are lined by a very low cuboidal epithelium. The striated ducts are lined by what type of epithelium? Columnar. So to answer Shichelle's question is, once we encounter a duct within the lobule, alright, once we encounter a duct within the lobule, and it's very obvious that there is columnar epithelium to it, then that is a striated duct. Alright? So these little tiny ones right here with cuboidal epithelium, that is, now that screen is showing it better up there. Cindy, look around and look up at that screen there. This is far too pink. I have to adjust the color here. This is giving me that screen at the top. These screens basically, the color